evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
89.3 Mahoning Drive-In Radio. It's your old friend Virgil back once again for another installment of the podcast. And today we're joined by a very special guest besides Mark. Say hi, Mark.
Hello.
We have King, I always call him King Hayden Hall. If you want to say hi, Hayden, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
So good to have you. This is something we've been dying to do. I'm sorry it's taken so long, but
That's fine.
The idea of giving people an inside peek of what the Mahoning does, they've been itching for kind of the inside peek of how the art works, how we got connected, all that stuff. So I think people will really, really dig it.
Nice.
So, as you know, very, very drive-in geared. We obviously met each other at the Mahoning, all that stuff. But let's go back. Do you have any drive-in experiences before the Mahoning?
Before the Mahoning, I was living in a small town called Pittsville, Maryland. And the closest drive-in we had was in Dover, Delaware. So we'd drive like an hour out when we were little. And it just played like Small Soldiers or like The Day After Tomorrow, like stuff that was in the theaters at the time. One of the best memories was they were showing Wallace and Gromit and the Were-Rabbit, and it was like that and Corpse Bride, and they were having a pumpkin carving contest, and it was like 5th grade birthday of mine or something. So everyone brought in a pumpkin that was at my birthday party, and we carved them and brought them in, and we were like the only 5 people to enter, so we all got the passes that were the prize.
What a cool idea. That's really something that
it was pretty good.
That'll stick with you. And you said you were how old?
5th grade, so probably, I don't know, 12. I don't know how old 5th graders are these days.
That's crazy. Well, that's what we always talk about is the drive-in has a special appeal to a youth. It really can capture your imagination, can kind of hook you with the love of not just film, but maybe work you into what eventually you do, whether it's art or anything. So let's kind of segue a little bit. Obviously, everybody knows you as the incredible poster artist that frequents the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. You see him there vending. You always know when it's a Hayden Hall piece, for sure. How did you get into art? Was that something that bit you really young, or?
Yeah, I've always been doing it since I was like real little. I never thought of it as like a profession or something people would pay money for. And like everyone told me like, oh, you're going to do art for a living. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I don't know. I didn't process that people would just pay you money to like draw stuff. But it's pretty cool. It's a neat path that I'm on. But yeah, I've always been obsessed with like horror movies or like metal album covers. So that's kind of what I'm always trying to achieve whenever I do a piece.
That's amazing. Do you say that was kind of your influence? Do you have an influence that was like, I want to do art, or was it just always in your life?
I think it was always in my life. I think it was just the only outlet I had to express my love for film and stuff. Like some people, they start up music because they like the soundtracks, or they do makeup because they like the stuff. But I always was huge on like creatures and like all the Universal. So I would just draw those, and like anything to like put a part of myself in with that culture is kind of how I got involved.
So you do a lot of horror stuff for us, but you've done a ton of work for us. Do you call yourself very much a genre horror fan? Is that your bag?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think it's just the closest thing that film has to the art world, because there's so many different outlets that horror can give you. Like the special effects is sculpting and painting, and it's the closest thing you can get. Yeah.
That's why I think it really has connected with our audience, obviously, besides the grindhouse appeal of like, oh my gosh, if you haven't seen something and it's really edgy, it catches you. But that practical effects magic and respect that people have for that era of filmmaking. And, I still say it, the idea that the 35 millimeter has captured people's hearts, because when we first jumped into this, that thought was to try to stand out in some sort of way, to go retro, but it's become our calling card. The idea of young kids now coming in and saying like, I appreciate 35 millimeter. Mark knows this story. There's I guess it was last weekend or 2 weekends ago, we had a young kid come in who had just installed a projector in his basement.
Whoa.
And started collecting 35. So it's like, I look at Mark and Jeff sometimes, I'm just like, man, we're doing something right. This is working. It's just, it's a glorious thing. Do you have any memories when you were young as far as the horror genre where you really fell in love with it?
What was your gateway film? Like, was it,
yes.
What was your gateway film? And was it the video store? Was it cable? I mean, we all, I think, usually can trace it back to sometimes a specific movie and a specific viewing. Do you have anything like that?
I have several kind of. So we did frequent the video stores, but the horror section was like blocked off with like the 18 plus movies. But when yeah, so like you couldn't just like frequent that. But when I was real little, I would just like get away from my parents somehow and wind up in that section, and that was like the forbidden zone with all the like the really cool box art, and yep. I think it was just such like a taboo thing, and that stuck with me. Other than that, our school like library had was it Crestwood House
Those
books
were
from like the 70s. Yeah, that was a big gateway. I checked out all of them.
Yeah, you know,
it's amazing.
If somebody would reprint those, I would. I and a lot of people would buy them all. In the price, it would be an object, but it wouldn't be too much of an object.
Oh yeah.
Those orange spines. Oh my God. I used to check all of those out. And a lot of times that was my first exposure to a lot of those films or those characters. And I still think about those books. Those are like a hot item on eBay now. Those are really hard to come by in good condition.
Oh, I look them up on eBay. I definitely know that they're a hot item now.
We all do.
It's amazing how our childhood has come full circle and now it's just like huge. And it's a good segue that you were influenced by box art of VHS covers, because I think that is our connection. Do you want to go into how we ended up connecting and how you started doing posters with the Mahoning? Yeah,
so what year? 2016 maybe? 2017, one of those.
Yeah, I think it might have been 16.
16.
Because we're going into 5 now. Yeah.
Yeah. My buddy Josh Schaefer, who's the king of lunch meat VHS, I was doing a lot of art for him at the time, and he was like, "Hey, I got this." Well, actually, I think I told Josh about the Mahoning because our 1-year anniversary, me and my girlfriend, we went to Weekend of Terror, and I told Josh about how crazy it was. And he said he talked to you guys and like arranged a VHS Fest.
Crazy small world.
So that was the weird connection with that. Yeah, and then Josh asked me to do the poster for the VHS Fest, and I've been doing them ever since.
And then it's been a magic carpet ride. Honestly, I remember the first time that Josh sent me a piece that you had done for him, which I think was a jacket, right?
Oh yeah, the gate.
At least that's what I saw. And it blew me away. I was like, yeah, let's bring this guy on board. He's got perfect appeal for what we're going for with VHS and the style and all of that. But your work over time, I feel like, has grown. And the way that you work, your style, you're one of those guys that always tries to, at least from an outsider looking in, tries to keep it fresh. Is that your kind of approach?
Yeah, I like to mix it up, and I also like to change the genre based on what movies are playing. So like the Vampyrty one I just did, I was trying to bring in like the elements of like old Hammer horror posters. Like I think more specifically Vampire Circus. That was like one that stuck with me for a while. So I tried to capture like everything in that poster.
Well, it definitely plays to your style, and I think that initial connection happens. You're friends with Ben as well, Ben Money, Ben Mazzucchelli.
Yeah.
I always call him Ben Money. And he had written for Josh at one point for the magazine, and we went to college together. We grew up going to high school together, best buddies. And this connection always stuck in my head that, Lunch Meat VHS, I remember looking at the magazine and being like, wow, what a weird, niche kind of revival angle to go, to be super dedicated to a specific medium. Well, wow, did that cross over with what we were doing? So I was like, all right, if we're going to do this VHS Fest, we have to get somebody involved that is like in the world of VHS. So I reached out to Ben and I said, do you have Josh's number? You know, do you still work for Josh or with Josh? And of course he did. And it was another destined kind of match made in heaven, because we're going into 2001 VHS Fest 5, right? And it's become, no joke, our biggest annual every single year. It has a festival appeal with all the vendors, all the merch, the extent of the camping, because people are coming from all over the place. What can you speak of besides the art of your experiences at VHS Fest?
Because you're often a vendor at VHS Fest as well.
Correct, yeah.
With cool books.
Yeah, I'm always the book guy. Always the books. I would say it's just a totally different vibe than any other showing at Mahoning, or even like any other convention, because it's just people who just get one specific thing, and no one's trying to like muscle in or like flex and show that they're the top dogs. Everyone's there to just enjoy the same thing, and it's just a very warm event each year.
Yeah, I say it's appreciating the almighty slab that brings us all together, you know. But I remember year number 2, I think, is the year that we met the Witchfinger Girls.
Oh, yeah.
And they came down from Canada. And I remember somebody came into the booth and they were like, the Witchfinger Girls are here. The podcast girls are here. And he's like, do you know? She's the lead singer, Kitty. They're yeah. Kitty. So I remember it was like this big to-do year 2 right out of the gate. And that is one of those events that is just kind of ballooned. Every year, people catch on to what this is. It's very much grown like the legend of the Mahoning, and is one of those cannot miss events. So you obviously are doing a bunch of posters for us regularly. We always like to give Hayden at least once a month because he's really our go-to staple. What else do you have coming up? What else are you working on to give people that excitement
for the Mahoning?
Yeah.
Right now, I think, other than VHS Fest 5, I got the David Lynch event coming up.
Kaboom! Sell out already.
Yeah.
So, well, Saturday is sold out. I think we have 50 tickets left for Friday. You know, there's certain shows when we program it, right away in my head, I'm thinking like, all right, that's Haydens. Like, that's got to be Haydens. But something like that is a no-brainer. Do you have that love for David Lynch like a lot of us fans do?
You know, I want to say I was first exposed to him in like high school, and I did not get it. But I'm sure a lot of people just don't get it. I started with Eraserhead, and I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at here. And then I saw like I saw Wild at Heart and Twin Peaks, and those are like masterpieces to me. So yeah, I watched all of his other stuff, and it finally clicked more. I don't think I fully get David Lynch, but yeah, I
don't know if anybody fully gets David Lynch, so you're not alone. I think that's why I love it so much. It's got an element of experimental, pushing the envelope. It's almost like when you're walking in, you're expecting to go through this like trip, this mind trip of coming out and being like, what was that? I need time to process it. So the idea of playing all these films kind of back to back to back to back, I say after that weekend, we're going to be like,
oh yeah, I've been saying the same thing. It's going to be you're definitely going to need a recovery a couple days after.
For sure. Well, that's a super, super exciting one. Of course, you guys have VHS Fest to look forward to, but the thing I love about following your Instagram and your social medias is just how busy you are. What were some of the projects, the choice projects that you had in the off season, or that kind of offshooted from everything?
After VHS Fest 2, I did Witchfinger's like t-shirt designs and stuff.
No way! I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, they hit me up after that. Oh my God!
What a crazy perfect crossover. When that was because of the connection at VHS?
Yeah, they
come on.
I didn't even know about them before that.
Unbelievable. See, that's the type of thing that we always hope for. You know, like when we first started, and people should know this, it was an all volunteer outfit. Nobody got paid, including the artists. You really jumped in early on to donate your work to support the Mahoning, and it really kind of birthed what we do. You set a bar really high for the level of limited edition poster art that we do. And I think everybody kind of rose to that occasion, including us, to try to prove, we're worthy of this art. But that is exactly what we want. We always hope that somebody sees it, somebody reaches out, it turns into work, it turns into exposure. And that's amazing to see. I also saw you were working on, I got to ask, are you still doing jackets? Is that a regular Hayden Hall move?
Oh, working on like denim jackets and leather jackets and stuff?
Yes.
I do those when I have like the free time. I think I started up like Shop with doing that a couple years ago, and I was just swarmed with people. And I was like, I don't have the time to do that many jackets because it takes a while.
You're going to become the jacket guy. Well, it's incredible. I think the one I saw most recently was the Dio.
Oh yeah,
the Dio cover. I mean, come on! You're looking at this thing and just like it's perfection, like album specific perfection, you know. But it's very, very cool to see that stuff happen and come to fruition. I also saw there was you did some bands cover arts, record arts, things like that.
One I did is actually going to drop tomorrow that I'm really excited about.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's like my first thrash metal, like thrash, like hard punk album cover. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
That's super cool. What's the band name? How can people check it out?
They're called Dead Heat. They're from California, I believe.
I love that name. That's awesome. Well, why don't we get into a little bit about the kind of inspiration that you take into your heart now? I mean, obviously, when we're young, things capture our hearts. Is there certain things that are kind of your go-to, whether it's in the horror genre, in the art genre, that you are like, wow, this fuels my fire?
A lot of my inspiration comes from like just Ed Repka is a big influence, Frank Frazetta. I like a lot of Japanese posters. A lot of like the Godzilla stuff really is a big influence. Oh, yeah. Just stuff like that. Just movies that are kind of made for like pure entertainment purposes, just that you can just like have on and like sketch to.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, well, we definitely try to push the envelope with the programming at the Mahoning. Now that we've started bringing guests in on a regular basis, it's really grown, and the community has grown. And you're somebody who has really come along on the ride with us. What do you have to say to kind of that passion for the drive-in and what the Mahoning does specifically that's special? I think
it's, for me as an artist, it's a dream come true because you get to work with like all these properties that you just, I don't know, it's like a dream to just work on like a Hammer horror poster or something and just get to draw Dracula as a job. Like someone's like, I don't know, and just getting specific properties to work on is just a dream come true. And just the love of film, and everyone's just super excited and we'll talk to you about the films playing. It's just a great time.
Yeah, I think that the idea that this is a community space is how we struck out on things. But as this grew over time and people started to discover the Mahoning and it started to become bigger and bigger, our whole thought was, let's find ways to level it up. When people started saying, this feels like a Comic-Con convention, it's like, all right, let's bring in some cosplayers. Let's start throwing some contests and things like that. And I think it's really snowballed nicely. So we can't thank you enough for all the work that you not only have done for us, but all the work that you have dedicated to us in the early years and donated to us as well.
Yeah, of course. It's been a pleasure the whole time.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure that you give us your places to find your work online, find and or purchase your work online.
I'm still posting some more stuff on my personal website, which is sixslicestudios.com. That's pretty much how I handle like all my commission work. If someone wants a custom piece, just email me, contact me there, or just sixslicestudios@gmail. And then just at @sick_slice on Instagram is mostly where I post the work.
How did you come up with the name Sick Slice? How's that become your moniker?
It started in 2012 when I was getting out of high school, going into college. It was very pizza oriented, and I was trying to mix. Well, it's still a big part of my art is mixing like cheap thrills in with like the essence of like horror movies, because horror movies are kind of like junk food for your mind, and it's like something you can just enjoy over and over again. So Six Slice was like a pizza slice that was also like horror, and you get sliced with like knife stuff. I don't know.
I love it. Yes. Well, it is that perfect kind of appeal. You know, people connect that name now with that moniker, and that's exactly what you want when you're building a brand, you know? Well, we're very, very excited for what the future has to bring, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, is there something that you want to see at the Mahoning that has kind of passed over? I know VHS Fest is a hard one because like we play such deep cuts every year that it's like, but is there something that personally you're like, oh man, this has to come to the Mahoning at some time?
Gotta be Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Ooh, yeah.
That's always my go-to. It's my favorite movie growing up. Huge impact on me.
Oh, that's so true. Would that work with the double? Do people have enough love for Big Top Pee-wee like I do?
I think you could do it.
Personally, I do not have the love for. I don't have the love for Big Top.
You come for the adventure,
like
and maybe you leave for the Big Top.
Yeah.
Well, I think the only time that we played Pee-wee was for a Tim Burton weekend.
Oh man.
We did that and Beetlejuice. Okay. Beetlejuice. So you can guarantee that puppy will come back. We got some serious love for the Pee-wee genre. It's funny because when the new Netflix movie came out, Big Holiday,
that's right.
He started making the rounds, and that's right when we first started bringing in guests. The documentary had just come out, and people started catching on outside of our circle. And we seriously thought about it. We were like, this is a no-brainer. He's coming, you know, he could come do a show. It's like we show Pee-wee. It's perfect. So you never know. It could still happen. That's certainly at the top of our list. Before you go, we talked a little bit about, you know, multiple times about the influences. But besides the horror stuff, you know, Pee-wee, I wouldn't necessarily say is horror. It's definitely dark. Mm-hmm. Do you have like a unique guilty pleasure that you kind of go back to where you're like, you know, this is something that I loved as a child and might catch people off guard?
Well, I went to school for animation, so stop motion animation is like very close to my heart. This also goes to what I would like to see at the Mahoning. Pay big money for a weekend of just Ray Harryhausen films.
Yes, come on. Yep. I mean, certain things just have that perfect appeal. It's like, wow, that thing just wrote itself.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask, is there anything that you personally want to talk about as far as projects, things that people, you know, can look forward to coming up or anything like that?
I've been working on a movie, but it kind of got put on hiatus due to COVID and everything.
Yes, that's right.
But besides that, we're doing a TV show that we're still trying to figure out how to play it to the public. It'll probably be like an internet show and then also on DVD and VHS, but it's like a horror host theme show. And Ben Money is working on it with me.
Perfect. Come on. I love the crossover. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
That speaks so much to the community. Is like, I used to say all the time, people are finding their acting partners, producing partners on the lot. And it's really true. Mm-hmm. I see it all the time, this kind of people coming together and crossover of works and all that stuff. But we talked about it. I hope it's still in the works, but when this film's over, we would love to play it at VHS Fest. I think that's a no-brainer.
Oh yeah, big time.
And I take it you have some crossover. Does Josh appear in the film?
Oh, there's lots of crossover. Josh appears in the film. Gary Cohen, the director of Video Violence, appears in the film.
Come on!
Yeah, everybody. It's got cameos all throughout it.
Well, it's funny because it reminded me of the crossover of VHS Fest and all the Destined stuff. So year one, Josh also said, you know who we should get to play is this guy, Matt, who calls himself Lapses. Mm-hmm. And he sent me tracks and I'm like, oh my God, this is like 80s horror synth. I'm like, this is perfect. And he showed up and he played a guitar the whole entire time, blew people's minds as he was up in the front field. But we got to talking on the lot that day and I'm like, God, you know, like we didn't grow up together or something, right? Like, I feel like you have this face where like we've hung out before. So it turns out I hosted open mic nights for years out of college, and he used to go around with a Casio. Yes, he used to go around with a Casio keyboard and go by the name Time Ghost, and just go up there, play these like, you know, sample tracks, and then kind of riff on top of it. And when I had that realization on the lot, I'm like, "You're Time Ghost." It was one of those just weird situations again where you're like, oh my God, like this is another thing that was just meant to be, you know? But he's definitely become a staple as well. And we're hoping to get him back for this year. I think there was an issue with him playing last year, but it's fun to see that bar get raised. We're trying to do some bigger set pieces for VHS Fest this year, and have it really kind of play into some of the bigger events that we do with, you know, the themed sets, things like that. So there's talks of an oversized VCR that we can actually load an oversized tape into.
Oh my gosh.
I think that would be a fun photo op, people sitting on top of a big old VCR or something like that. So gonna try to keep raising that bar. I can't thank you enough again for everything that you do and what you mean to the Mahoning family. This journey, everything, we wouldn't be able to do it without people like you that came in at the perfect time, gave their hearts to us, and allowed us to grow with you. And it's amazing to see your work flourish over time and your style kind of stretch over time, flex over time, I guess. I do have one more question for you. So the Vampyrty poster, what would you call that style of kind of the dot art? Because that blows me away. The fact that like you're putting millions of dots practically on paper, and it turns into this like beautiful masterpiece.
The method is just called stippling, and it's like you just all the little dots are stipples, and it just creates a gradient of shading depending on how close or how large the dots are next to each other.
It blows my mind. Like it's one of those things that I look at and I'm like, how could he have this in his head and be able to put it onto paper? I still say it more than anything. Like I've been a singer for years, actor, touched all those kind of things. Never had the artist in me, never been able to draw, but like to have that outlet would be such a treat to me. You know, do you find it as a cathartic situation? I mean, is it, I'm sure it pretty much runs your life now, but is it your go-to really for any escape?
Probably half and half. I also do like film work. I think I get more of an escape from like film or sculpting or something, but art's one of those things where you'll just be dead asleep and then you'll get like an idea for something and then it just wakes you up. So it's kind of like a blessing and a curse. But yeah,
I was asleep.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, it's nice to get like ideas that you think would look cool out on paper, and then people support you and say, that is a cool idea. I'm glad you showed me that. So that it's very, very humbling.
Well, the reaction that we got from that poster, just like every poster that we put up, is just like, are you kidding me? And we love it because you send the works to us early, and you had sent an early kind of work in progress shot, and I sent it to Mark. I was like, look what we're dealing with here. He ain't messing around. So it's really, really appreciated and really, really amazing to see it all come together. All right. Well, it has been a pleasure hanging out with you guys. I could do this literally all day, and we get to do this again very soon. The next time that Hayden is out at the theater, and traditionally whenever Hayden does poster art, he will be at the event vending. Sometimes it doesn't work out with your schedule, but people always look forward to snagging that poster. And I always say it's stepping over and getting it signed, because man, if anything's a piece of art, it's Hayden's work for sure. So keep up the amazing work. We so look forward to what you're going to bring for David Lynch, and I'm sure everybody is. And little inside baseball for the fans that are following us on this Patreon and podcast journey. We just locked in all the titles for VHS Fest, and I hope it's giving some inspirato to you, Hayden, to get some ideas. It's right up your alley, I take it. Those titles,
yeah, big
right?
time. I'm already started on it. It's pretty easy.
That's awesome. I love it. And I can say, again, spoiler alert, the event will be announced probably within the next week or two. And we did just lock a very big guest for that event. Well, we have a bunch of guests, but one is a big get, which we're very, very excited about. So stay tuned to the socials for all that stuff. And anything that you need Hayden Hall, again, check him out. Six Slice on the socials. I can't say enough about him. He is truly the king. Is it okay that I call you the king?
Yeah, I don't think we never talked about that. Yeah, it's fine. I don't care.
I don't know if it's going to stick, but I'm going to keep on pushing it because in my mind, you really are the king, you know? So on that note, for Mark, for Hayden, this has been Virgil for Mahoning Drive-In Radio. And on that note, Jeff, take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night and God bless you.